Hey everybody, Farmer Joel here. Welcome to another farm video. It is early June and it's kind of a pivotal time for the farm right now. Harvesting starts next week, which is a big additional set of jobs to do. Delivery to all the members, packing all those orders. Takes a kind of all hands on deck for at least 1.5 days out of the week. So that's a big thing to add in. We're also getting cows this week. So all the cows will be here grazing. If you haven't ordered your whole half or quarter cow, put in your reservation now for a fall butcher date. Still no calf on the dairy cow, but that should be coming along pretty soon, sometime in June, and we're excited to have milk and start milking, though that is more work. And some of the repairs from the storm are happening. We're rebuilding pasture pens, we're dismantling mangled high tunnels and rebuilding those. So there's a lot going on. But there is really a shift from the early spring where it's all prep and planting and getting ready for the season, and now we'll start harvesting, and it will be the midpoint of the season. That mid stretch of the season can get long and tedious, just a lot of hot summer days, but at least it's exciting to have harvest. So we're looking forward to harvest, and we're trying to make that transition from spring season prep to rolling through the season. So let's go see what's going on around the farm. So I'm starting here out on the pasture. The dairy cows went out on pasture last week and they are happily grazing in the grass. Daisy's up here. She'll be calving any day now. This is Clem. Last year's calf, she's just turned 1. Hi, Clementine. But it's good to see the cows finally out on good fresh green grass, and they are certainly healthy and happy. And anytime today, the rest of the cows should be coming. I'm going to go meet up with the guy and receive them onto pasture, and that will be exciting as well. But as you can tell, blue sky, green grass, everything's sunny. Got my hat, and it's a nice time to be in the pasture. If you read the post from last week's or on social media, you know that we got hit with a really big storm last week, and there was quite a bit of damage, in fact. And one of the things that happened was the pasture pens that we run our broilers in got totally blown across the pasture, and several of them totally destroyed. So if you remember from 2 weeks ago in the video, I showed you 8 pasture pens that were running across the pasture in this general area. Well, the wind came up through here really strong and picked up 4 of those pens and threw them all the way across the pasture into those trees. You can see some trees down in this area here, but the pasture pens were just mangled and strewn across the pasture, probably 150 yards, and there were pieces all the way up in these knocked down trees. So it was pretty terrible, but very few chickens actually died. The pens were kind of picked up off of them and blown away, and the chickens remained in place. And we were able to bring 2 old dilapidated pens and kind of set them down and get all the birds under cover that night. So it turned out to be okay, not a lot of death, and as far as that goes, but we did have several pens totally destroyed. So right now Jerry and Daniel are out here finally getting to the wreckage and pulling it together, dismantling, taking parts, scrapping much as we can, and we're going to try to rebuild pens because we do have chicks in the brooder and some birds still out on pasture, and we need those pens in order to keep producing. So that's what they're up to right now, pulling things apart. Let's go see the wreckage and what they'll be able to salvage from it. So it looks like they've got a couple walls salvaged from the pens. Pieces here dragged together, more pieces over here. Everything was just strewn across the pasture in pieces and bits all the way up into those trees, and it was pretty horrific to discover in the middle of the storm. But we've still got 4 pens over here running with chickens in them. Thankfully, just a few days after the storm, we were able to take half of the birds to the butcher, which gave us some space and allowed us to keep running chickens in the 4 pens that were good. So these are the 4 pens that were not destroyed, and they have one of our batches in them. There's another batch of birds in the brooder that needs to come out pretty soon. And so the pens that they repair will house those guys. We also have 2 old pens that are kind of dilapidated, but they got us through the tough few days before that one batch went to the butcher. So all in all, a lot of dismantling and rebuilding, but hopefully we'll be able to come up with something that works. So I'm here at Osprey Wilds. We're in the big pasture here, and this is where our cows are starting their grazing this year. So they just arrived this morning. There they are, all 12 of them, and they're really enjoying this grass. If you can see down here, the grass is pretty lush, pretty tall. A little bit of it is going to seed, which is good because this pasture was newly seeded and it needs to thicken up and put down more seed. But there's plenty of grass here. It's all the way up to my my thigh or my waist in many places. So that will really help them put on weight, but we're excited to have them. Dropping manure, fertilizing the pastures, increasing its productivity, and producing a lot of nutritious meat. So keep doing your thing, guys. Glad to have them. In the garden, we're finally getting to the high tunnels that were blown over in the storm. You can see Jed and Debbie and Una working on putting the hoops back up. We took it all apart, laid it out on the grass, dismantled all the broken, bent up parts, salvaged some parts from 2 of the tunnels and putting one at least back together, and we'll be working on the other one in weeks to come when we get free time. But this one is super critical because this is the wash stand that we process and wash and pack all of the vegetables and orders that come in that are starting next week. So it was really critical for us to get this one up, and we have had just a little bit of time this week after all the other work was done to be able to work on that, which is super great. So yeah, it looks like we'll be able to finish that before the end of the day, and we'll be all set up on Monday to start harvesting and washing and packing everybody's orders, which, as you know, are going out this week. One surprise that happened this morning was, or last night rather, was that our well went out. All of a sudden, middle of somebody's shower, pressure dropped, went to nothing, and no water anywhere on the farm. So that was really scary. I was hyperventilating when I first heard, just because if our well dries up, we're in big trouble. We've got a lot of living plants, we've got a lot of living animals on the property, and if we don't have water, we're in big trouble. So that was pretty scary for a little bit, but when the technician came out today, just a few hours ago, and checked it, he was able to fix it up in an hour or 2. With some bad switches in one of the electrical boxes. So we're super thankful that that was able to be fixed on Friday afternoon. If it had gone out over the weekend and then wasn't fixed till mid-Monday, we would have been really in trouble and unable to fill all the boxes. So it's been a bit of a roller coaster spring, just with the wet, cold weather putting things behind. The greenhouse furnace went out twice during the spring, which was really scary. The storm damage that set us back, the well going out, a lot of things that have been kind of made us turn somersaults inside. But it looks like they're being addressed, and God's providing as fast as these things come up. So hopefully this Monday everything will go off without a hitch, and everyone will get their orders delivered on time. And if we can get that first week under our belt, we should be able to fall into a rhythm for the rest of the season. So yeah, hopefully we'll get this done by the end of the day and we'll be ready to roll next week. Greenhouse is still full of little seedlings going out. This is actually kind of a pivotal time of the year. There's still a lot of planting and seedlings going out into the garden, yet we're also starting harvest, so that's twice as much work, but we'll make it through. Peas are coming along really nicely, starting to flower. A few little peas have been picked by little girls recently. Hopefully we'll have buckets of those in the coming weeks. Several long rows of peas already climbing their trellises. Beets are looking really nice, with smaller plantings coming in behind. Garlic, greens, all kinds of things growing in the garden. Starting to look pretty green around here. This part of the garden is full of all the various greens, baby kale, arugula, lettuce mix, spinach. Lots of things going on in this part of the garden. Really pretty. Weeds are under control, but we are having a little bit of fertility issues that we got to work out, which is not surprising on new ground. We worked this ground last year for the first time and we did okay, but there's always some kinks to work out before things really are settled into where they need to be. But lots of greens. And of course, the tomatoes are coming along. Lots of fruits on these plants and flowers. So we should be getting tomatoes in a little while. More tomatoes in here. These plants are about waist high or more. Looking pretty strong. As long as we can keep them healthy, that'll be great. And cukes. Lots of cucumbers working their way up their trellises. So that's it. A lot going on, of course. All the weather, all the cleanup from the storm, various dramatic ups and downs that we have to deal with. But things are coming along and we're excited to be switching into the next phase of the season where we're actually harvesting and eating and enjoying the fruits of our labor. And we hope you guys will enjoy them as well as CSA finally gets started. So thanks for watching. It's nice to have you guys in touch with what it takes to put that food on your table, and we're glad to have your support and to just be working directly with you. So thanks for watching and thanks for eating the food. See you next time.